The roar of motorcycles shattered the morning calm, turning Barron's peaceful jog into a tense standoff of words, glares, and raw intentions. 8 bikers circled him, throwing accusations of ruined lives, but he didn't even blink. What happened next left everyone, on the street and watching live, completely speechless. But let's start from the beginning. The day started out pretty normal for Barron Trump. At 19, he had mastered the art of moving through life like he didn't have a care in the world, or at least that's what he wanted people to think. He liked keeping things low-key, blending in, despite the shadow of his last name looming over everything he did. His morning routine? A jog through the upscale streets of Los Angeles, just him, his sneakers, and 2 quiet but ever-watchful security guards trailing behind. The neighborhood was pristine, trimmed hedges, shiny luxury cars, and barely a soul on the streets this early. The silence was almost therapeutic, until it wasn't. A sudden, deafening roar of engines shattered the calm. Barron slowed his pace, his gaze narrowing as a group of motorcycles tore around the corner like they owned the place. 8 of them. Leather jackets, patch-covered vests, and faces that looked like they were carved out of stone. The lead rider, a giant of a man with a beard that practically had its own zip code, pulled his bike to an abrupt halt. The others followed, forming a loose circle around Barron and his security detail. One of the guards instantly stepped forward, his hand hovering near his hip. Professional, alert, but visibly outnumbered. The bearded man swung his leg off his bike, removing his helmet with a slow, deliberate motion, like he was the star of some gritty action movie. He smirked, eyes gleaming with something between mockery and menace. "Well, well, what do we have here?" he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "The little prince of privilege out for a stroll. Lost your way, boy?" Barron stood still, his face as calm as ever. No twitch, no flinch. The only movement came from the slight adjustment of his headphones, like he was more annoyed than anything. Before he could respond, one of the other bikers, a wiry guy with a voice that cracked mid-sentence, chimed in. "This kid's daddy ruined our lives with his fancy laws. Time to pay the price." Barron's security shifted positions, now fully between him and the bikers. The tension was palpable, like the air itself had thickened. People on the street, dog walkers, joggers, the usual crowd, were already scurrying away, heads down, pretending not to notice. Nobody wanted to stick around to see how this was going to play out. The motorcycles rumbled on, their engines sounding like caged animals desperate to break free. Black smoke curled up from their exhausts, adding an almost cinematic touch to the already surreal scene. "Stay put," one of the guards said firmly to Barron, and naturally, that's when Barron decided to step forward. The guards froze for a moment, caught off guard as Barron took a single, deliberate step toward the leader of the bikers. His expression? Unreadable. His tone? Unshakable. "You need to calm down," he said, locking eyes with the bearded man. His voice was steady, almost eerily so. "I'm just here to jog, not to discuss politics." A sharp, mocking laugh broke out from one of the bikers, followed by the metallic clink of a chain being pulled from someone's belt. It dangled in the air, catching the morning sunlight. "You talk too much for a kid from a family that thinks they're untouchable," one of them growled, his grip on the chain tightening. The air was electric now, buzzing with unspoken threats. The guards subtly shifted again, their earpieces crackling faintly as they murmured something to someone unseen. But Barron? He didn't move. He didn't blink. If anything, he seemed almost bored. And yet, under that calm exterior, something else simmered, a quiet defiance, an unspoken challenge that hung in the air, daring the bikers to make their move. The stage was set. The question wasn't if the situation would explode, it was when. While Barron's guards tried to keep things calm, one of the bikers snapped. With zero hesitation, he slammed his fist down on the hood of a nearby black SUV. The metallic clang echoed sharply, cutting through the uneasy silence. Barron didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked on the scene, his expression unreadable. Whatever was brewing in his mind, he wasn't showing it. The bikers moved in closer, tightening their circle. The guards adjusted immediately, stepping back to shield Barron. Their body language was all business, protective, prepared, and not messing around. "We've called the police," one guard announced firmly. 5 minutes and you'll be in cuffs." The gang's leader laughed, low and mean, like the whole thing was a joke. 5 minutes? We only need 2, he shot back, the smirk on his face sharp enough to cut steel. Things escalated fast. One of the bikers yanked a heavy chain from his belt, letting it swing menacingly. Without warning, he lashed out, aiming for Barron. But Barron wasn't caught off guard. With a quick sidestep, he let the chain miss him entirely. Instead, it struck one of the guards square in the chest, the impact ringing out like a shot. The guard barely flinched, his protective gear absorbing the hit, but the atmosphere thickened instantly. The second guard moved fast, pulling out an electric stun device. Its crackle lit the air with tension, sending a clear message. Back off. But the bikers didn't back off. Instead, they revved their engines, the roar deafening as black smoke billowed around them. The scene turned chaotic, a mix of noise, fury, and raw defiance. And then came the sound of something new, the low, steady hum of approaching cars. Around the corner rolled a fleet of black SUVs, moving in formation like a well-oiled machine. The vehicles screeched to a stop, doors opening in perfect unison. 18 men in black suits and sunglasses stepped out, their movements precise, synchronized, and full of purpose. The bikers hesitated. Their earlier bravado faltered as they sized up the new arrivals, but their leader wasn't about to lose face. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted, pointing an accusing finger at Barron. "You and your family, you ruin lives. Look at us. This is on you." Other bikers chimed in, their voices a mix of anger and frustration. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut, but Barron stood steady, silent, his expression cool and detached. Then the gang leader pulled out his phone. With a quick swipe, he started streaming live. "Let's see what happens when the whole world's watching," he said, aiming the camera directly at Barron. The lens zoomed in, capturing every detail of Barron's face. He didn't blink, didn't react. He just stared back, calm, composed, and waiting. The street had turned into a stage, and the stakes were now higher than anyone could have imagined. The tension on the street was almost unbearable, but Barron didn't flinch. His calm, steady gaze met the camera lens in the gang leader's hand. It was like the chaos around him didn't even exist. Then, breaking the silence, he spoke, his voice carrying over the roaring engines and murmurs of the crowd. "You want the world to see this? Fine. Let them see exactly what's happening here." The gang leader faltered, his grip on the phone loosening just slightly. For the first time, his confidence seemed to waver, and that was all the opening Barron's guards needed. 3 of them moved in unison, quick and precise. Within seconds, the leader was restrained, his arms locked behind him. The phone slipped from his hand, clattering onto the pavement. The other bikers stood frozen, caught off guard by how fast everything had shifted. Barron stepped forward, his movements deliberate. One of the guards handed him a small microphone, and without missing a beat, Barron addressed the crowd and the unseen livestream audience. "You blame me, my family, for ruining your lives," he said, his voice calm but firm. "But let me ask you this. How is this helping? Threats? Chaos? What do you really think this is going to accomplish?" The words hit like a hammer. A younger biker looked down, his tough exterior cracking under the weight of Barron's speech. Even a few of the older ones exchanged uneasy glances. "We've all made mistakes," Barron continued, "big ones. But we're here now. You have a choice. Keep tearing things down or be the people who build something better." The gang leader, still held back by the guards, spat out, "This is just a trick. He's just saying what you want to hear." But before anyone could respond, the sound of approaching sirens cut through the air. Red and blue lights reflected off nearby windows as police cars rolled onto the scene. Barron handed the microphone back to his guard, stepping back as officers began to assess the situation. He turned once more to the bikers, his final words quiet but firm. "You wanted the world to see. Now they will. What happens next is up to you." The bikers were silent, their earlier anger replaced by a heavy realization. As the police moved in, questioning and taking control, Barron quietly stepped into one of the black SUVs. The convoy pulled away, leaving behind a moment that everyone, both there and watching online, would remember for a long time. What would you have done in Barron's place? Do you think his calm approach was the right move, or would you have handled it differently? Share your thoughts, leave a comment, and let us know if you or someone you know has ever faced a situation like this. Don't forget to like and share this story It's made to shine a light on real issues and inspire positive change. Your opinion matters. Together, we can make the world a better place.